one of the questions some people ask me is, why are stories important? And I think I found that they convey sort of a better essence because they have some specificity to them. People can remember that. And so I found that works really well.
Well, knowing our wedding was going to be pretty casual, we defied the old saying, don't see each other on your wedding day, and went to Silver Lake in Barnard, Vermont, and went swimming.
And it's cold in Vermont.
I remember living in that house that first year we were married, in the old factory where you got your start.
Yep. Some of the things, for example, I learned working in a family cannery was the ability to listen and kind of assess problems. That applied materials, I used to go and sit in the back of the room lots of times in meetings and just kind of get a take on what was going on. And what I found is that in these rooms were very much a listening culture. And the reason, of course, was there was many technical discussions. The people's native language in the room was not the same. And because they had a different culture, they brought a lot more different ideas to the table. And that worked to really build a strong team that worked together for years and years. Too many times, the people that start companies that are really, quote, geniuses, they sometimes try to clone themselves, and so you don't get that diversity. One of the things that gives me hope is the potential of the nonprofit world. And I know my wife and I that's been a great satisfaction for us, is to see nonprofits accomplish new things and make a difference. And if they can lead and manage better, they'll do even more.
A friend contacted me about the fact that there were so many golf courses up in the Sierras and they weren't even measuring their water. And knowing that we had droughts and we could have more with climate change. And there were several people doing that work. And he said to me, if you just get those guys together, you could do more.
The local land trust, Truckee Donner, and Feather River Land Trust, which, they represent, I think, something close to 60% of the water flow in the California water system. The Nature Conservancy, which is large, the Trust for Public Lands, Sierra Business Council represented the 30 towns up in the Sierras.
There was some fear and jealousy at first because they didn't want to share databases, and I think that's sort of natural. It wasn't easy. It took some cajoling, shall we say, and or as I say, knocking heads, and Jim says, rubbing backs. But what we learned in the Northern Sierra Partnership was that we could get these 5 nonprofit leaders working together on behalf of the Northern Sierra.
I really think that collaboration is really one of the important skill sets for any nonprofit or any organization. And over time, they begin to trust each other so that they actually have agreed to go ahead for another 10 years after we planned to close it last year. And they're doing well. Well, my passion right now is helping with the applied wisdom leadership effort. I think, most people who have an interest in leadership have the ability to develop, but they need to take the responsibility for the development into their hands. And a lot of the tips that I collected over the years, turned out there's about 100 of them, are about implementation. In the 90s, I was wanted to write a little notebook for my grandkids. And I started with a 3-ring binder. And my friends knew I'd been collecting these management tips since Fort Bragg in 1958. And so they said I should put it together. And so this became the book of applied wisdom. Then it was just tips and kind of an autobiography story. Then after we published that, this came out with a booklet called Applied Wisdom for Nonprofits.
Good news is no news, and no news is bad news, and bad news is good news if you can do something about it.
Right.
But he can repeat that. It's, to me,
No,
a Morganism is almost a prompt.
I used them to kind of coach people, and so they got to laughing about them and calling them organisms. Oh, he's got another one, ha ha ha, and so it just became part of the culture, and they became very effective implementation tools. I didn't realize that starting. I wouldn't, but it really has turned out that way. People ask, what do I hope to be remembered for? I really just found that my satisfaction comes from having people meet their potential, and that their organizations meet the potential. And that's kind of been sort of my guiding light.